After you've finished your last foot row, crank until the main mark is at 4 o'clock. Now we're going to set up the toe, which will be knit almost exactly the same as the wrap needle short row heel we did. Start by lifting all of the needles to the right of the main mark, all the way around to the halfway mark. So I've stopped just before the halfway mark. And now continue cranking until the lifted needles are in front of the yarn feeder, and then engage your heel spring again. Lift one, the last needle knit. Again, I always hold that first needle in. Now we're going to add our heel forks. One in the middle. Remember, the two edges need to be in front of lowered needles, not lifted needles. Lift the last needlework again, one needle. And continue like that, one needle at a time until you reach the target needles in the center. Remember to adjust your heel forks up every few rows. And particularly if you drop a stitch at the corner, that is a sign that you need to move your heel forks up. Here I am with the last needle to lift before the first target mark. Just gonna lift and crank around like usual. Same on the other side, lifting the last one before the target mark, here on the side with the halfway mark. We're going to push down the first two lifted needles and wrap the yarn behind them. Same on this side. We'll push down two, make sure the latches stay open, and wrap the yarn behind them and crank back. And now we'll continue like that, but just pushing down one needle each time and wrapping the yarn back behind. Now I have just one needle still lifted before the main mark, and one difference between the toe and the heel, in fact the only difference, is that when you push down the last needle and wrap it, you do not also wrap the neighbor needle. You just wrap the needle that you push down directly before the main mark. We're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to push down the last needle before the halfway mark, wrap around, but we are not going to wrap the needle beside it. And again, this time we crank just until the halfway mark is at 9 o'clock. And now you can once again disengage the heel spring. Push down the rest of the needles, making sure the latches again are all flipped open and that you didn't accidentally shut them by pushing the needles down too far. And now you're going to crank just until the main mark is right at the break in the yarn feeder. And you're going to let the latch close around the yarn. It'll be the last needle before you get to the main mark. Make sure the latch closes around the yarn. Now you're going to cut off 1 yard of yarn for Kitchenering the toe later. And we're going to pull that into the center of the cylinder. Just drop it in. And now load up the waste yarn in the yarn feeder. Drop it in the center of the cylinder and clip the two together, the end of the sock yarn and the tail of the waist yarn. Oops. This time you are not going to hug the needle with the two yarns. Instead, the ends of both yarns are going to come right over the main mark. That will make it easier to not have the overlap, will make it easier when we are Kitchener-ing the toe shut. I'm going to crank the first couple of stitches slowly to make sure my waist yarn is catching. And it is. And now I'm going to crank just 2 or 3 rows, not very many rows. I guess that was 2. Now you can visit us at deanandbean.com and please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.